The Financial Times is reporting that after Charlie Kirk's unaliving, the American right isn't reflecting or calling for calm. They're vowing vengeance. But vengeance on who? Nobody knows who the assassin is. Nobody has any information on him, much less his political beliefs. So again, vengeance on who? The left? Everyday people who disagree with them? That's the dangerous part of this rhetoric, because it turns grief into a broader threat against political opponents. And instead of being a moment of pause in US politics, right-wing spaces online are seething with demands of retribution. Against who again? And here's where it even gets more insane. Felon 47, who's already testing his limits on executive power, could use Kirk's death as justification for cracking down on the political left, weaponizing Charlie Kirk's death. A movement that thrives on grievance and division is now promising to escalate. And if Felon 47 uses this moment as cover for more authoritarian moves, get ready for more chaos in American politics.
Notorious JTB, you are right. Spot on. Now Charlie Kirk is dead and the right is vowing vengeance. Vengeance on who? Nobody even knows who the assassin was. But we knew they would use this as a political weapon. What a shock. What a jolt to the entire system. A name that stirred waves of controversy for years, suddenly silenced in the blink of an eye, and yet the echoes of his voice seemed louder than ever. One could almost hear the stunned gasps sweeping across living rooms, offices, and bustling cafes as the news broke, spreading faster than wildfire through every device, every screen, every whispering conversation in the streets. Dead, gone, finished, and yet somehow more alive in debate, in argument, in chaos than when he stood behind a microphone. How could this be? How could such a moment ignite such unstoppable ripples? The declaration was stark, the announcement unforgiving, and yet the questions piled higher and higher, each more bewildering than the last. Who pulled the trigger? Who masterminded such a brazen act? And most terrifying of all, why? 1,000 theories swirled instantly, as if the world had been waiting with sharpened tongues and restless imaginations for exactly such a catastrophe. No evidence, no clarity, no direction, only wild speculation drenched with fury and fueled with emotion. Shock turned to chatter. Chatter became speculation. Speculation erupted into accusation, and accusation was weaponized into an unstoppable political storm. Oh, the drama. Oh, the intensity. Voices on one side roared vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. Yet against who? A ghost? A phantom? An invisible hand striking from the shadows? Their rage was not against a person, but against the concept of being undermined, attacked, humiliated. Their fury needed a target, and when no target was available, they forged one out of thin air. How convenient, how inevitable, how chillingly predictable. Already there were whispers of conspiracies, murmurs of collusion, hints of elaborate schemes stretching across continents and corridors of power. Was it foreign influence? Was it domestic betrayal? Was it an inside job? Was it a message? Nobody could answer, and yet everybody screamed as though they knew the truth. The air thickened with paranoia, a suffocating fog of suspicion. Every commentator shouted louder than the last. Every pundit claimed to hold secret knowledge. Every influencer hinted at clues nobody else had seen. The spectacle was intoxicating, irresistible, frightening, yet impossible to look away from. Eyes widened, jaws dropped, and the entire nation leaned in, desperate to know the truth but equally thrilled by the suspense of not knowing. How tantalizing, how outrageous, how breathtaking the theater of uncertainty became. And through it all, one undeniable fact loomed. His death was not merely an ending, but a beginning. A new chapter in the eternal saga of division and outrage. Death transformed into dynamite, exploding across airwaves, dominating conversations, setting fire to platforms where every opinionated voice competed for dominance. No time for grief, no time for solemn silence, only the intoxicating rush of outrage that burns hotter than any candle of remembrance. Vengeance had become the hymn, fury the anthem, speculation the sacred scripture of the hour. Listen to the rhythm of the anger, feel the pulse of the uproar. Crowds may not yet have taken to the streets, but the digital streets were already ablaze. Post after post, video after video, rant after rant, each more electrified than the last. Shock was addictive, outrage was contagious, fear was profitable. Every outlet capitalized, every headline stretched the drama, every caption sharpened the suspense. A circus without clowns, a battlefield without weapons, yet the noise louder than any cannon blast. But beneath the showmanship lurked the chilling truth. Nobody knew the assassin. Imagine that. Nobody. A mystery so complete it became a blank canvas upon which every fear, every suspicion, every prejudice could be painted. In that emptiness, the imagination ran wild, filling the void with monsters, villains, traitors, shadows. One could almost feel the desperation of a nation clawing for certainty, begging for names, for motives, for clarity. Yet none was given, and so the guessing game only grew more ferocious. Wow! The suspense, the thrill of the unknown. Still, the inevitability was crystal clear. His death was no private tragedy, no quiet moment of loss. It was instantly consumed, twisted, amplified, transformed into a political weapon of staggering force. Those who once cheered him now brandished his absence like a sword. Those who despised him recoiled in uneasy silence, and those who stood in the middle found themselves swept into the vortex, whether they wished it or not. There was no escape. The narrative thundered forward like a runaway train, unstoppable, breathless, exhilarating. Could it be that vengeance itself was the real goal? Not justice, not truth, but vengeance for vengeance's sake? The intoxicating promise of striking back, of reclaiming power, of rewriting the story, not with facts but with fury? Yes, exactly that. For in such moments, reality bends beneath the weight of emotion. Facts are fragile, evidence irrelevant, clarity unwanted. Rage rules, anger dominates, vengeance dictates. And in that fever, anything can be justified, anything can be excused, anything can be weaponized. And what a weapon it became. Already one could sense the sharpening of rhetoric, the heightening of division, the inflaming of old wounds long left festering. The right demanded retribution, the left watched in alarm, the middle shrank back in disbelief, and the world peered on in shock. One man's death had become a megaphone for the living, a rallying cry, a slogan, a symbol. How ironic, how theatrical, how explosively dramatic. Everywhere one turned, the echo rang louder. Vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. And yet every echo rang hollow, for there was no target, no face, no enemy upon whom vengeance could fall. The assassin was faceless, nameless, vanished into smoke, leaving only the chaos behind. And oh, how chaos thrived. It danced through every conversation, it strutted across every broadcast, it electrified every headline. The unknown was not a weakness, but a strength. It fueled the outrage, it prolonged the suspense, it made the spectacle last longer, grow wilder, burn brighter. Who would dare step forward with answers? Who would dare calm the storm when the storm itself was profitable, entertaining, irresistible? No. The storm would be allowed to rage, to thunder, to howl, because it captivated millions. Every heartbeat of the nation raced faster. Every eye widened further. Every voice sharpened more fiercely. And through it all, the central truth remained unshaken. Charlie Kirk was dead. But his death had given birth to 1,000 stories, 1,000,000 arguments, an unquenchable fire. And so the spectacle roared on, breathless, fiery, shocking, addictive. Nobody knew the assassin, nobody knew the truth, but everybody knew the story, everybody knew the drama, everybody knew the outrage. And in this new reality, the truth mattered less than the narrative, the facts less than the fury, the assassin less than the vengeance. And that perhaps was the greatest shock of all. All right, that's it. As your host, Miss World News, I'm grateful that you tuned in, loves. As always, stay blessed, stay true to yourselves, and let's keep shining in this crazy world. Catch you next time. I love you all.